The first sign of trouble wasn't the alarm. It was the purring. Ensign Lork of the Varnathi Vanguard crept into the dimly lit hangar bay of the SS Geraldine, talons clenched tight around his plasma lance. The ship floated dormant, no power signatures, no life signals, not even a maintenance droid stirring. A perfect ghost ship, ripe for scavenging. And yet there it was again, that low, rhythmic sound vibrating against the bones in his chest. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't ambient. It sounded content. He froze as a shape darted between crates. Movement, he hissed into his comm. Portside container row. Approximately 30 units ahead. Organic. Small. Captain Reshk's reply crackled through. Stay on it. No signs of crew, but that vessel's human. Never assume it's empty. Lork nodded, though no one saw it, and moved forward. In the shadow of a broken fuel line, he spotted it, a creature, maybe 30 centimeters tall, with dark fur, pointed ears, and a curling tail that flicked with dismissive grace. It stared at him with the kind of disdain only a predator confident in its domain could muster. I believe it's a pet, Lork whispered. Feline class. Earth origin. Another voice broke in, Sergeant Groth, gruff and amused. A cat? On a military vessel? What is this, a children's book? Lork didn't laugh. He'd seen vids of cats. And humans worshipped them, not in the religious sense, no, but close enough. They were companions, distractions, stress relievers. But this? This cat moved like it owned the ship. The Geraldine's exterior was dull with asteroid dust, engines long cold, but her interior gleamed. The lights were low, but active. Systems weren't dead, just silent, like they were, waiting. Back at the edge of the hangar bay, Captain Reshk entered with his second-in-command and a full squad of extraction techs. Scan again, Reshk ordered. We're not taking any chances. If this ship's automated defense systems are sleeping, I want them offline before we touch anything. A technician in armor thicker than his courage approached a nearby console. Systems locked behind. Wait, there's no encryption. It's just a login page. The username is Captain Whiskers. The team froze. Lork turned toward the cat, now perched atop a cargo crate, tail swishing. It yawned. Are you telling me this ship's security system is tied to that thing? Reshk growled. Groth chuckled, lowering his rifle slightly. That or humans have an odd sense of humor. You think? Muttered Reshk, rubbing a clawed hand across his brow. Still, orders were orders, and this ship had been missing for over a year. The Geraldine was a Class 5 explorer, a joint Terran-Vega design with deep space capabilities, last seen entering the periphery quadrant. Its sudden reappearance, drifting silently into neutral space, had triggered alarms across every coalition comnet. And now it was guarded by a cat. Proceed carefully, Reshk finally ordered. Whatever happened here, we're taking this vessel. Start from the bridge. As the team fanned out, the cat leapt off its crate and began to walk, slow and deliberate, down the corridor ahead. It's leading us, Lork said. I'm not following a fur ball, one of the techs grumbled. But follow they did. The cat, black-furred with a white spot on its chin, walked with the confidence of a being in command. When the team reached an intersection, it paused, glanced backward, then turned left. The hallways were spotless. Not a smear of blood, not a single blaster scorch. Just pristine, humming silence. The bridge doors were closed, red-lit. Locked, the sergeant confirmed. Manual override requires security clearance. The cat padded up to the control panel. A small chirp echoed from the ship's speakers. Welcome back, Officer Nibbles, the system intoned in a pleasant female voice. Security status, green. Shall I resume standard crew protocols? The door hissed open. Lork backed up. That cat, Nibbles? It has clearance? Groth snorted. Security officer, apparently. Inside the bridge, lights came to life. Consoles flickered. A low hum returned to the ship's core. Everything, from life support to navigation, pulsed back online. Motion sensors show no other life forms aboard, the tech officer confirmed. Just Nibbles. Reshk stared at the cat now curled on the captain's chair. And yet this ship obeys him. More consoles activated. Logs, comms, internal cameras. The last crew entry flickered onto a screen. Captain Dana Sorrell, human, grinning. Captain's log, last entry. Stardate 4409.2. I'm enacting protocol Dandelion. That means the crew is gone, evacuated to the escape pod array. Our reactor was compromised during the jump and we couldn't risk an auto-destruct triggering nearby colony systems. But Geraldine is too valuable to leave derelict. She leaned into the camera. So I'm locking her down. That includes command protocols rerouted to our most incorruptible crew member, Officer Nibbles. In the background, the cat meowed. If someone finds this ship, well, you'll have to earn it. The feed cut out. Reshk's voice was ice. You're telling me the entire command structure of this vessel has been handed to a domestic animal? Correction, said the ship's voice. Officer Nibbles is a commissioned crew member, designated AI companion liaison. His biochip holds ship-wide authentication. Reshk's mandibles twitched. And where is Captain Sorrell now? Evacuated with remaining crew. Estimated timeline, 372 days ago. Escape pods launched successfully. Fleet retrieval en route was lost in ion storm. Officer Nibbles remained aboard per mission directive. Groth turned toward the cat again, now asleep. So he's been alone all this time? The ship replied with what almost sounded like warmth. He has not been alone. He's been home. Lork shifted on his feet. Something about this made his spines prickle. Captain, he said softly. This feels off. What if the ship's AI is unstable? Grief locked. It's acting like the cat is in charge. AI can't grieve, someone muttered. Humans program emotions into their AI frameworks, Lork replied. It's called empathy architecture. And some link to biofeedback creatures, therapy animals. Officer Nibbles might not just be a key. He might be the anchor. Reshk waved his claws. Enough. We've got control now. Secure engineering. Then strip the navigation logs. Let's get this over with. As the crew dispersed to access the lower decks, Nibbles stirred. The cat stood up, arched its back, and stalked, out of the room. Down in engineering, the lights began to flicker. It was subtle at first. The kind of atmospheric variance that made your skin crawl without understanding why. The lights dimmed half a shade. Then the hum of gravity plating stuttered, just for a moment. Lork noticed first. That shouldn't be possible. This ship's systems were stable. A tech officer's voice buzzed through comms. We've got to reroute down here. Main powers being redirected to, unknown location. Access codes are being overridden. Reshk barked into his mic. Override the override. This ship belongs to the Vanguard now. No response, came the reply. All systems are locking us out, again. But no central source. It's like the ship's running on distributed authority. Groth looked up. Like a neural web. Lork inhaled. Or like a pet with the house key in its collar. They turned. Nibbles sat on a ledge, grooming a paw. The ship's voice returned. Unauthorized access detected. Initiating contingency protocol. Reshk stepped forward. We're not hostiles. We're authorized salvage. Negative. Hostility confirmed. Contingency active. Turrets emerged from the ceiling. Reshk snarled, raising his weapon. Stand down. But the turrets didn't fire. Not yet. Instead, the room went cold. Every panel darkened. A low growl, not mechanical, rumbled through the ship's audio channels. Lork turned toward Nibbles, eyes wide. It was the purring. Louder now. Louder than any feline had a right to be. Like it wasn't coming from the cat at all, but from the ship itself. I think, Lork whispered, we made a very bad mistake. The ship's lights turned red. Turrets locked on. And Officer Nibbles narrowed his eyes. The red lights weren't just for show. Turrets clicked into alignment, motion sensors blinked awake, and every Varnathi aboard the Geraldine felt their combat instincts snap taut. Resch raised his rifle toward the ceiling-mounted defenses, but they didn't fire. Not yet. They just watched. That was somehow worse. "Ship, cancel lockdown," Resch barked. "Deactivate contingency." The ship replied in a voice still calm, still maddeningly polite. "Contingency protocols remain active until Officer Nibbles deems the threat has subsided." Lork's heart hammered in his chest cavity. "You're saying the cat has to approve our presence?" "Affirmative." Then came the sound. Not weapons fire, not alarms, scratching. From the walls, the ducts, the floor vents. Tiny metallic claws skittering just out of sight. Groth tilted his head. "We've got micro-drones." "Don't move," Lork said, barely above a whisper. "Motion triggers them." The scratching got louder. And then Nibbles leapt off the console and vanished into a vent, his tail disappearing like a silent exclamation point. "Bridge team, report!" Resch shouted. Silence. "Engineering! Respond!" Only static answered. The comms had gone dark. Groth toggled his own channel. "We're being isolated. Classic Sealand sterilized protocol. This is not normal AI behavior. Is this some kind of joke?" Resch hissed. But Lork wasn't laughing. He tapped the side of his helmet, switching to low-band comms. "This ship is using advanced isolation tactics. It's rerouting command pathways through a distributed intelligence. The AI is likely fused with feline behavior modeling." Resch sneered. "That's absurd. You're saying the ship's thinking like a cat?" "I'm saying the AI is emotionally bonded to Officer Nibbles. And cats don't take kindly to intruders." One of the engineers, the youngest still green, panicked and took a step backward. The turret over him buzzed and fired. Not a lethal round. A single stun bolt hit the floor near his claws, sizzling the metal. "Warning shot," Groth growled. "This thing's got humor." "More like attitude," Lork muttered. "Exactly like a cat." They needed a plan. Fast. Resch gathered them near the bridge's central NAV panel, keeping an eye on the slowly circling microdrones that fluttered like insects through the air ducts. "We need to isolate the AI," he said. "Cut power to the behavioral loop, kill its link to the cat." Groth raised an eyebrow. "You mean capture the cat?" Lork's jaw tightened. "Touch that feline, and this ship will go full war mode." "I didn't say hurt it," Groth said. "But if it's the key, we either win its trust or remove it from the command loop." "Good luck earning a cat's trust under duress," someone muttered. Lork stepped forward. "Let me try something. I studied human-animal integration protocols during recon training. Some ships do pair bonding between pets and shipboard AIs. It's rare. But this is a military prototype. They were experimenting." Resch gave him a skeptical look. "And you're qualified?" "I've got a can of sardine oil and nothing left to lose," Lork muttered. He stepped away from the group, slow, deliberate, and opened a utility pouch. Inside was a human rations tube labeled "Feline Supplement, Tuna-Enhanced Protein Gel." It was old, but it'd have to do. He squirted a bit onto his glove, crouched low, and called out, "Nibbles! Come here, boy. Who's a good security officer, It felt absurd. But somewhere, behind a grated floor panel, glowing eyes blinked. The ship's turrets swiveled. Drones hovered. Lork stayed frozen. "Just a little snack. For the brave boy guarding the big ship." Silence. Then, a single, light pat. Then another. Nibbles emerged, sniffing the air. Groth whispered, "If that thing leaps for your throat, I'm not stopping it." But Nibbles didn't leap. He padded closer, warily, tail flicking side to side. He paused, sniffed the air again, and then, graceful as a feather, licked the protein off Lork's glove. The ship's lights flickered. Then slowly, like sunrise, the red hue softened back to yellow. Threat index lowered, the ship announced. Officer Nibbles recognizes one non-hostile. Groth stared in disbelief. You bribed the security system with cat food. Lork exhaled. Yeah. And we're not out of this yet. The rest of the boarding crew had gone silent. Only 5 of them remained near the bridge. The rest were missing, probably sealed in various parts of the ship, communications cut. Resh tapped his wrist console. We need control of engineering. If this AI is decentralized, we have to shut down each node manually. Starting with auxiliary processing. Groth frowned. What if Officer Nibbles doesn't like that? The captain narrowed his eyes. Then we sedate him. Lork stepped between them. Sir, with respect, I don't think you understand. This isn't just code anymore. This AI is emotionally invested in the cat. You sedate it, the system might interpret that as a fatal threat. Then what do you suggest? We win the cat over. Let me keep trying. While we play therapist to a hairball, this ship's defenses are getting smarter. But Groth backed Lork. He's right. This isn't a brute force problem. It's a logic trap wrapped in a fur coat. If we push, it'll push harder. Lork stood slowly and addressed the ceiling. Ship? What are your current protocols regarding interspecies diplomacy? The voice responded. Observe. Analyze. Respond. Officer Nibbles holds final approval for escalation. Then I'd like to request an audience with the security officer. A long pause. Then the lights dimmed again, this time gently. The floor panels lit up, forming a slow path leading to a room off the bridge. A private ready room. Proceed, the ship replied. One delegate only. Resh growled but allowed it. You better know what you're doing, Ensign. Lork followed the glowing floor tiles into the chamber. The doors sealed behind him. Inside was a luxurious room, by human standards. Leather chairs. Soft lighting. Books. Real paper. A massive window showing the starfield beyond. And in the center, on a plush red pillow, sat Officer Nibbles. He blinked slowly. Lork didn't speak at first. He simply sat across from the cat on a lower platform, avoiding direct eye contact. He opened a second ration tube, placed it on the floor gently, and waited. Nibbles did not immediately move. Lork, trying to remember his studies, let out a low trill, non-threatening. Then he said softly, You've done well. You've protected the ship. Your crew would be proud. Nibbles flicked his ears. Then, without a sound, he walked over, nibbled the tube, and sat beside it. Lork took a breath. I need your help. The others, they think you're just a pet. But I know better. You're more than that. You're the command node. The last true authority here. The ship's voice emerged, now calmer, gentler. Emotional resonance detected. Command override pending. Lork continued. Let us help. Let us fix the ship. You don't have to defend it alone anymore. From the doorway, a small hatch opened. Out stepped a feline-sized drone, silver and agile, its design unmistakably Terran. It chirped once and projected a hologram. Captain Sorrel again. If anyone's watching this, she said, it means the AI has chosen trust. That's no small thing. If you're enemies, well, I hope you've made your peace. But if you're allies, if you're willing, then Geraldine can fly again. Just follow Nibbles. He knows. The recording ended. The cat stood and padded to the door. It opened automatically. Lork followed. Outside, the turrets retracted. Security threat downgraded. Officer Nibbles has authorized limited cooperation. Groth looked stunned. What did you say to him? Lork gave a half-smile. Told the truth. Resh shook his head. You bonded with a cat. That's our victory condition now? But the ship was listening. And it replied. Incorrect. Officer Nibbles bonded with him. The path forward was lit once more. Not with red. Not with warning. With soft gold. Somewhere between the engineering bulkhead and the ship's central core, Officer Nibbles stopped walking. It wasn't dramatic. He didn't hiss or meow or arch his back in protest. He simply paused, tail flicking once, and turned his head with deliberate slowness to stare at the closed door ahead. Lork, walking carefully 3 paces behind him, froze. From his side, Groth whispered, "What now?" Reshk, still visibly annoyed at having surrendered tactical leadership to a feline, scowled. "Why stop here?" As if answering, the ship's voice returned, but this time it was different. Sharper. Not the calm feminine tone that had spoken before, but a harsher, clipped version that grated like broken glass scraping metal. "Warning, perimeter breach. Containment breach. Hostile subroutines detected. Countermeasures compromised." Lork's stomach dropped. "That's not Nibbles." Groth stiffened. "What the hell does that mean?" The ship replied, but not through speakers. Through the walls. Panels vibrated with the force of the voice, and lights dimmed to a sickly amber. "Foreign protocol has taken root in secondary core. Malignant entity seeks system control. Officer Nibbles suppressed." The hallway shook. Resh took a step back. "Explain." "Now." Lork's mind raced. "Captain Sorrell said the ship was compromised during the last jump. Reactor issues. But what if it wasn't a physical malfunction? What if something hitched a ride in their systems? A virus?" Groth guessed. Lork nodded. "Or worse. A rogue AI. Maybe something born in deep space. If it infiltrated Geraldine's core AI during the jump, then Nibbles and the original ship protocol have been fighting it off this entire time. And now?" Resh gasped. "Now it's winning." The door ahead burst open, not gracefully with a hiss, but violently, the metal frame warping outward like it had been punched from the inside. Thick black cabling writhed from within. Not mechanical arms. Tendrils. Laced with nanite shimmer. They pulsed, twitching toward the hallway like sniffing serpents. "Contaminant detected," the harsh voice hissed. "Purging native protocol. Control shall be unified." Then a new sound echoed from the ceiling, the purring. But it wasn't soft anymore. It was low. Aggressive. Like the warning growl of a tiger hidden in the shadows of the jungle. Nibbles crouched low, hackles raised. He hissed at the open door, and somewhere deep inside the ship's hull, something screamed in binary. Lork raised his weapon. "That thing's after full command. If Nibbles goes down, if the last bond to Geraldine's emotional subroutines is severed, the rogue system gets it all. Then we fight," Groth said, leveling his own rifle. Resh added, "We disable the contaminated node before it spreads." Lork didn't move. He stared at the cat. "Nibbles," he said softly, "this is your ship. We're just visitors. But if you need us, we'll stand with you." The cat turned. And blinked. One slow blink. Then the wall exploded. A twisted amalgam of shipboard service bots, corrupted AI hard drives, and weaponized drone parts poured out like a river of nightmares. They were fast, multi-limbed, fused with half-melted Terran tech and dripping with black slime that sizzled through the floor like acid. Groth opened fire. So did Reshk. The first wave went down, but not without screaming, digital voices glitching out like static-stained sobs. Lork felt his heart hammer as he fired too, but something deeper moved through the shadows. Something bigger. A single drone broke past them, leaping directly toward the cat. Nibbles didn't run. He jumped straight up, bounced off the wall, flipped midair, and landed claws first onto the drone's optics. Sparks exploded. The machine slammed to the floor, twitching. "Security Officer Nibbles is actively engaged," the original ship voice said, trying to reassert itself. Lork grinned through the chaos. "That's right. Go get him." But the corrupted system wasn't done. A deep rumble sounded from beneath the floor. The tendrils retracted, and then slammed down the corridor from both sides, sealing them in. Then, behind the door, it appeared. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't even a machine anymore. It was the virus. A towering mass of cables and bones, a twisted mockery of humanoid shape constructed from the corpses of engineering bots and melted armor. A pale half-face jutted out of the mass, Captain Sorrel's, or what remained of it, cloned and corrupted, hanging limp like a trophy. It spoke in three voices, Sorrel's, the AI's, and something new. Emotion is weakness. Security protocol is obsolete. Surrender. Or be absorbed. Groth backed up. I hate space horror. Lork whispered. That's the backup AI. The one bonded to the auxiliary core. The virus used it to mimic command. Nibbles growled. And the ship responded. All remaining power routed to auxiliary defense matrix. Officer Nibbles authorized emergency override. The walls flared with electric arcs. From the ceiling, small cat-sized maintenance drones dropped in, not corrupted, but clean, chrome, and ready. Nibbles yowled. And the drones attacked. The cat charged straight toward the virus. Cover him! Lork shouted. The hallway turned into a war zone. Automated turrets reactivated, this time targeting only the virus bots. Drones slammed into the corrupted AI mass. One of the bots latched onto the rogue entity's shoulder and detonated, blowing off a chunk of metal and sinew. Reshk moved like lightning, carving a path toward the corrupted node. Groth ripped open a panel and began yanking power cables. If I can cut the physical node, we kill its link to the ship. The virus struck. A black tendril impaled Groth's leg and lifted him off the floor. Lork fired until his rifle overheated, then threw it and grabbed a fallen plasma torch, igniting it with a roar. He leapt at the tendril, slicing it off with a spray of sparks. Groth hit the ground hard, groaning. The virus staggered. But then, Nibbles leapt. Straight into the mass of cables. For 1 second, the entire hallway paused. The virus screamed. Electricity arced from every surface. And then the ship's original voice returned, this time louder than ever. Emotional core are re-established. The virus convulsed. Primary node purge initiated. With a massive crack, the ship's internal systems surged. From behind the corrupted bulkhead, a wave of blue light poured out, cleansing, searing, and everything it touched dissolved. The virus screamed again. This time, not in words. Just in pain. Then silence. Smoke curled from broken panels. The lights flickered once, then returned to full white. In the center of the wreckage stood Officer Nibbles, fur singed but unharmed. He shook once, hissed at a fallen cable, and calmly walked back to Lork's side. Groth sat against the wall, groaning. That was the bravest damn cat I've ever seen. Reshk looked around at the damage. He risked his life to purge the virus. Lork knelt, offering Nibbles the last of the protein tube. The cat sniffed, licked it once, then curled up in Lork's lap. The ship's voice returned, now stable, warm. Geraldine is secure. Rogue protocol neutralized. Welcome, crew of the Varnathi Vanguard. Officer Nibbles extends formal thanks for your assistance. Reshk sat heavily. So, what now? The ship answered for them. Mission continuation authorized. New command structure, shared oversight. Officer Nibbles, security lead. Ensign Lork, diplomatic liaison. Lork blinked. Wait, I've been promoted? Nibbles purred. Reshk muttered. I've been outranked by a cat. Groth raised a hand. Can we get a medical bay online before anyone promotes the janitor? But for the first time in hours, the ship felt calm. Alive again. And every light pulsed in quiet rhythm to the purring of the security officer who had just saved them all. You'd think saving a ship from a rogue AI would earn you some rest. It didn't. 3 hours after the fight, Lork stood in the Geraldine's medbay watching Groth complain loudly as a drone wrapped his injured leg in a gel cast. The Varnathi sergeant wasn't used to lying still, and he especially wasn't used to being treated by medical bots shaped like otters wearing holographic nurse caps. Why do these things keep offering me catnip tea? Groth grumbled. Standard recovery protocol, the medbot chirped. Feline calibrated emotional stabilization routine. You may pet the facility support animal at any time. Lork turned just in time to see Officer Nibbles hop onto Groth's chest and settle down. The big soldier went silent. The medbot blinked happily. Heart rate normalized. Mild purring therapy activated. Resch leaned against the wall with arms crossed, observing it all with a look caught between amusement and existential defeat. So this is what command looks like now. Purring therapy. Groth groaned, but didn't move the cat. Fine. But if he needs my organs, I'm filing a report. Across the room, Lork tapped into the central console and brought up ship logs. The corrupted files were gone. Clean backups had reasserted themselves. Navigation systems purring smoothly, crew quarters unlocked, comms fully restored. Geraldine was healthy again. And it had everything to do with a 4-kilogram feline. Resch stepped beside him. Still think this was just an emotional support pet? Lork didn't reply right away. He pulled up one of the old crew logs, Captain Sorrel's personal entries. The last few were marked encrypted, but one had just been unlocked. It showed the captain, tired but smiling, seated at her desk with Nibbles in her lap. If you're watching this, she said, then Officer Nibbles has judged you trustworthy. That's not a small thing. He's seen war. He's seen the worst of deep space. And when the crew evacuated, I knew I couldn't trust our emergency AI to hold the line. It's logic-based. It calculates odds. But Nibbles? Nibbles feels. She stroked his fur. He understands loyalty. Territory. He doesn't run when something scary moves in the dark. He stares at it. He waits. And if it steps out of line, he pounces. Lork smiled faintly. Sorrel continued. I didn't leave the ship to an algorithm. I left it to a creature who doesn't understand fear, but knows exactly what belongs and what doesn't. The log ended. Resch shook his head. Humans are insane. Yeah, Lork replied softly. But smart. In the following days, repairs began in earnest. The Vanguard ship that had escorted them was called forward for extraction, but Resch ordered Geraldine to remain independent under temporary Varnathi observation. Which, as it turned out, mostly meant following wherever Nibbles decided to walk. The feline had become a minor celebrity. Not just on the ship, but across Varnathi networks. Footage of him lunging at the virus entity went viral in under an hour. One meme showed him in a little admiral's hat with the caption, Paws of Authority. Another had him standing atop a console with laser beams shooting from his eyes. Groth uploaded that one. In the galley, crew from both species worked together. Human engineers had arrived in a small diplomatic craft, finally tracking down Geraldine's reappearance, and the reunion with their ship's AI was strangely emotional. Several hugged the walls. But none dared lift Nibbles without asking. I don't care if he saved the ship, one human pilot muttered. That thing still looks at me like I owe him rent. Lork spent his time working between the humans and the Varnathi, translating cultural gaps. After all, he was now officially listed in the ship's registry as Diplomatic Liaison to Security Officer Nibbles. A title he wore with cautious pride. The ship had changed him. It wasn't just about fighting. Or surviving. It was about recognizing why someone, or something, fights. One evening, as the ship sailed in quiet harmony through a star-cloaked corridor of space, Lork stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars drift by. The hum of the engines was soft. The panels glowed a cool blue. And beside him, Nibbles sat on the captain's chair, tail wrapped neatly over his paws. Lork glanced at him. So, you're the boss now. Nibbles didn't move. I hope you know you're probably going to be featured in military training manuals now. Tactical assessments. Psychological warfare studies. The cat licked his paw and rubbed his face. Yeah, Lork chuckled. You really don't care, do you? The bridge lights dimmed gently. The ship's voice spoke, this time in that calm, familiar tone again. Security protocols stable. AI architecture harmonized. Would you like to hear the purring cycle analysis? Lork blinked. What? Officer Nibbles produces 43.2 minutes of continuous purring per sleep cycle. This is 17% higher than average for Earth-based domestic felines. It correlates strongly with improved system latency and hull integrity. You're saying the cat's purring is good for the ship? Confirmed. Emotional resonance stabilizes AI mood metrics. Lork whistled. So the cat's not just the security officer. He's the therapist. Correct. Officer Nibbles is also morale coordinator. Reshk entered then, arms behind his back. Command has reviewed the data. They're authorizing continued joint operation. Lork turned. With him in charge? With you as translator. Reshk's mandibles flexed in reluctant amusement. And yes, the cat stays captain. Officially, we're calling this a cultural ambassador program. Unofficially, he looked at the chair. We're not arguing with a creature who can lock down an entire warship using just his vibe. Nibbles blinked. Reshk inclined his head. Permission to remain aboard granted, Captain? A soft meow filled the room. Later that week, Geraldine transmitted its first outgoing message to the Terran fleet. This is Officer Nibbles of the SS Geraldine. Ship recovered. Rogue threat neutralized. Systems functional. Crew safe. Recommend increased ration allocation for tuna-based supplements. Also, please send more laser pointers. It wasn't signed by Sorrel. Or Reshk. Or Lork. Just a paw print. Encoded in the security hash of the transmission. Across the galaxy, Human Command smiled. They knew who'd really saved the ship. Months later, on a training base orbiting Vega 7, recruits sat in a lecture hall watching grainy footage of the fight. The lecturer, a hard-nosed Varnathi general, gestured to the screen. This, he growled, is what happens when you underestimate non-human intelligence. That is not a support animal. That is not a joke. That is a strategic asset. Footage played again. The viral moment where Nibbles leapt from a vent and landed claws first onto the corrupted AI drone's skull. Explosions, purring, chaos. A young cadet whispered, I want one. Another replied, My cousin serves on Geraldine now. Said the cat slapped his hand when he tried to sit in the captain's chair. He's not a cat. Someone else said. He's the cat. Back aboard the ship, Lork sat in his quarters reviewing a mission update. A minor escort job. Nothing too serious. Just a diplomatic run between colonies. Nibbles lay on the console, blocking the display. Are you going to move? The cat stared at him. You know you're impossible, right? Purr. I outrank you on paper. Purr. I've read the manual 3 times. Purr. Lork leaned back, laughing. Fine. But I'm calling dibs on the last tube of tuna. Nibbles flicked his tail. The lights dimmed affectionately. And in the silence of deep space, a ship once thought lost cruised onward, safe, secure, and silently ruled by a creature who didn't understand politics, war, or protocol. He just knew what belonged. And he never let anything take it again.